Hey everyone, it's Brian, Robb, and Souichi Terada, and we are live from Dallas, Texas, ahead of Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the
Woohoo.
Celtics and the Mavericks. The Celtics are holding a 2-0 lead, but Souichi, we have a pretty big development here
Yeah,
involving Kristaps Porzingis, and I am not going to try to pronounce the actual injury diagnosis. I'm going to throw
me
that
neither.
ball in your court. Or are we just not? We're just
No, I don't think we should try. That's
this
that's
is
it's a mouthful.
is it? So it is the left leg, correct?
Left
The
legs.
lower
So,
left leg injury. We'll call it that.
mhm. And importantly, not anything to do with his right calf injury, which kept him out for obviously a month. So that's something I think, like right off the top, that's kind of interesting. At least I thought B Rob, just because in the press release too, the Celtics sent out, and it was really funny too because like this is we'll peel back the curtain a little bit, but we were at so before every finals game there's obviously a practice availability, and it's basically all the same thing as media day. And so we were together, right, B-Rob? I think it was like us,
Yes.
maybe a couple other beat writers. I think Himmels was there, and Corrales, and then we all got the press release at the same time, and we were like, oh, like it was kind of strange just being around everyone and getting this mouthful of an injury. But yeah, so like I said, most importantly though, left leg injury. He's day to day. He's listed as questionable under injury report for game three, but that's kind of like it was kind of big news. And just weird getting that news like the same at the same time with everyone around you.
Rare to get a press release for a day-to-day injury,
Yeah, that's true too.
but this is the NBA Finals. This is Porzingis,
Hmm.
and it is you were there for his press conference before the
It was a
Celtics were going
zoo.
to practice on Tuesday here, heading into Game 3 on Wednesday night. What did you feel like his vibe was? Obviously, he had some pretty strong comments about his desire to
Hmm.
play on Sunday night. Did he sound as gung ho, even though clearly the decision will be out of
Yeah.
his hands to the degree it sounds like.
Yeah, it feels like KP kind of tricked everyone in the sense of like, well, I guess he didn't know post game too, but like I remember writing like, an article basically being like, it sounds pretty optimistic. And obviously that is not the case, considering the developments and everything. But in terms of how he spoke Tuesday, B-Rob, he seemed very like just like typical Porzingis in the sense of like he sounded optimistic. He sounded kind of like jolly, I guess. Drew Holiday spoke right before Kristaps did, and Drew kind of mentioned as well. Like Porzingis is kind of always like upbeat and like optimistic, and I think that's like a credit to him. And like I think there were a few times people asked like how his like mental is doing, and Porzingis was basically like, I can't think about that right now. Like we're they're in the NBA Finals, and that's kind of the mindset. So I don't know, B Rob, like what do you think? Like, do you think he ends up playing in game three? It seems like he really wants to. He had that kind of the quotable after game two that he die on the court. I don't think the medical staff will let him do that, but well, what's kind of your assessment of the situation?
It seems like there's two main questions that they need to tackle. One is the re-injury factor of
Hmm.
like, and that's something that clearly it's a lot on the Celtics medical staff to be like, and they'll talk to Porzingis clearly. He's gonna
Yeah.
obviously I would assume willing to assume some risk here, but if it's possible, we're dealing with a he's got injuries on both legs right now, or coming back from an
Hmm.
injury on one side of his leg and now has the other leg. So it's like the compensation issues. Clearly there's a lot going on here and could from just reading up on it from some doctor experts on Twitter and whatnot, like it sounds like there could be more damage done here if he lands the wrong way or just certain things happen there. So that's one. But I think honestly the biggest factor is going to be like what does he look like? What can he do?
Hmm.
Because you get a couple of day off, you get some adrenaline, but at the same time, like he looked not great for the second half
Yeah.
of game two, and particularly, I think the injury happened in the third quarter, but it,
Hmm.
it wasn't until the fourth quarter where he really seemed to like come down again, and it started to bug him even more. So in my mind, that's like if he can like I don't know what percentage he needs to be at for him to give you something that's worth it's just even if it's 10, 15 minutes, but
Hmm.
um it's still a pretty high bar, I feel like, because it is the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and I kind of wrote about this on MassLive, B-Rob, but it's just like when he was coming back from his calf injury. Like you didn't like you could be considered a one because the Celtics kept winning, right? Like they haven't lost a game in more than a month here, which is like kind of unbelievable. I think it kind of got glossed over. They set a new franchise record for consecutive playoff wins, but we can talk about that on a different video. But like there's like the Celtics were being conservative or they were allowed to be conservative because like this stage, right? Like it was all like this was the goal, like to not only get here, but to win it all, obviously. But like they're only 2 wins away. You know what I mean, B-Rob? Like it's like
It's right
I
there.
guess my point is, yeah, like my point is that like I don't think, like right, like if there's re-injury factors, all these other things, there's a multitude of factors that go into this, but like there's not really a point, I guess, in being conservative if it's not, if the re-injury risk isn't very high, like I get to me, there isn't really a point. And if like Porzingis is fine and is able to go, and as you mentioned, like how he looks and how much he's able to contribute is a big factor, but like even 10 to 15 minutes, like I think he just adds so much. And even like you said, B-Rob, like he didn't look great out there in game two, but like he still has been able to contribute, and that's mainly been because of his jumper, and he's been able to kind of withstand the Mavs physicality and everything. So I don't know, like I just don't see like what's like maybe he doesn't play game three, but like at this point it's like I don't know, like if you're not gonna play in games three and four, like I guess like what's the point of even like dabbling? Just because like like this
Right.
is the
The
NBA
injury's not going
finals,
to
like I
heal,
said.
it seems like, in a
Yeah.
few days. Like, it
Hmm.
sounds like he might eventually need surgery to, like,
Yeah.
really fix it. Yeah, so I think it's a good point by you. It's like, all right, is it, you know, a situation where if he jumps, he's gonna like tear, another tendon, and then okay, yeah, you don't do
Hmm.
that. But if it's like, well, you'll see what happens, and maybe it gets worse if he plays more. Well, it's like, okay, like I said, you'll even 10 minutes is probably all they need because that's like you
Hmm.
can give some more minutes to Pritchard, you can give some more minutes to Hauser, you give Al a few more minutes, you put
I
Tatum
mean,
at center.
yeah, like Jason's been playing a lot of center recently
Right.
anyway. So like you have so many, and then you got Al Horford at 38 years old doing his thing. So it's kind of like you have all these options, like if he's able to go and he obviously wants to go, like I don't see, like I said, there's the injury re-injury factor, whatever. But if that's like not that big of a deal, like I think you go see what he's able to give you. Like I know, like it's the NBA Finals, like there's nothing after this. It kind of feels like, like in baseball, like playoffs and everything, like the bullpen is saving that. That like none of this like none of that really matters anymore. Like you only have at most, five more games left in your season.
Yeah, it's the way it's been kind of talked about in terms of, I feel it is kind of protecting Porzingis from the standpoint of like
Mhm.
the Celtics training staff, if they just see him and are like, you're just not good enough to go. Like, I know you want to go, but like, we don't want you. A, you're not playing, you're not moving at a high enough level for us to keep you out there. And B, like, and put that together with the re-injury risk, that's enough to say, like, put aside. But I would expect he is going to try it at some point. Like, I would think if he
Yeah.
can, especially he seemed to be, walking around okay today,
Mhm.
at practice. We didn't get the shocker. We did not get to see him work out at practice, Souichi. They did not run him through some movement drills in front of us. But
Mhm.
yeah, like what does your gut say we see in game three? And how do you think this plays out for him and the Celtics over the rest of the series?
I think my gut says he doesn't play game three, and he plays game four. However, my gut also says if the Celtics go up 3-0, they might just be like, hey, take game four off. And unless, and I think it'll, if the Celtics drop game four, you'll see in game five kind of deal. I guess but like to answer your question, I guess my gut feeling is sits game three, plays game four, but that's fluid. If the Celtics are up 3-0, then you just feel good about yourself. So, what about you, B Rob?
Yeah, I I kind of think the same as you. Like, I don't think we see him game three. I think he tries it
This
in
just feels
game
too
four and
early,
fails. But it's
like,
also like, and for people being like, oh, you got to throw, like, this is the Celtics are protecting their future investment here too. Like, they have
mhm.
Porzingis signed for a couple more years, and yeah, they clearly winning the finals right now is more than the future. But like, if something happens and he's out for next season, that's like a well into
Yeah.
next season. That's a very big deal for a guy with his injury history.
Hmm.
And especially when I don't know, Suichi, I'm gonna say, like, I don't think they need him to win this series. Like, that he's been good. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it win 4 games without him
Yeah.
easily, but they did two. and he gave him a lot in those two games.
Mhm.
And but now he's got to win, 2 of 5, and
Yeah.
that's something
I,
that this team has not had in trouble with all year long.
I think that's good context as well. Now, right? Like the narrative is funny to me because now the Mavs get to be at home, but like on the flip side, the Celtics get to be on the road where they have yet to lose a playoff game this
Good point.
in the past couple of months, right? Like I said, they haven't lost. I think the last time they lost was like May 9th or something against the Cavs in game two, right? So it's just like, yeah, I agree with you, B Rob. I think at the same, I think at the same time though, you got to show some respect in the sense of like 2-0 does not guarantee you a series victory. And like the longer
Sure.
this drags on, I think it's obviously bad for the Celtics, but like I think for their psyche, it's not necessarily a good thing, because like you don't want to go into like a game 5 or game 6 situation where it's like, oh, suddenly it's competitive and you're feeling a little, little worse about yourself. And then Kristaps is like kind of still like a maybe, I guess. So I think I think that's kind of why they'll sit him game 3 and then reassess in the sense of like if the Celtics pull off game 3, then you'll obviously feel like, okay, well, no team has ever done this and it's the finals, and all these factors. So I don't know, B Rob. I still think he doesn't play game 3 though. I guess it would be surprising to me. It just seems too early, like the diagnosis and everything. Like I just feel like you kind of need to give him a little bit more time to like see like how that foot responds and everything. Is kind of my train of thought.
Yeah. And when talking about it now, it's like you want to give it a go at some point, but it is one of the things like if you're not going to go in game 3, I don't know how much of confidence you're going to be able to give. If he's not going to go in 3, I don't think he's going to give them anything meaningful the rest of the series. If
Hmm.
he, but maybe he can gut it out enough um, for whatever 10 minutes a game, hit a jumper
Hmm.
or two, um, try to hide on defense a little bit. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's just the Mavericks are clearly going to try to put a ton of pressure on him defensively. I imagine if he is
Hmm.
trying to labor through this. But it's been a really interesting series so far, and now this adds just another. I mean, I guess this was predictable. We'd have another Porzingis injury situation here, so it's not a surprise. But it's create
Yeah.
another dynamic now as into a do or die game 3 for the Mavs.
Yeah, he's a Kristaps just I don't know. I feel bad. Obviously, I feel it's not Kristaps's fault, but like the Celtics played this so perfectly all season. You know what I mean? Like they gave him Porzingis could get like a small contusion and they gave him like a week off or whatever, right? Like we saw that all throughout the season. And so for this to happen, like kind of sucks. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Malcolm Brogdon situation in some ways. Like
Hmm.
last season, they kind of, they basically let him rest as much as possible. And then like a freak injury happens. Obviously not quite like freak injury, I guess, for first stops and everything, but like if you're the Celtics, like all you can do is just shrug your shoulders, be like, what more can you do? It's not like you're, driving this guy into the ground or anything. It's just that's just how his
Yeah.
career has gone, and there's frustrations, but like you can't, what are you gonna do aside from try, hoping for the best, I guess. So it's, tough situation for the Celtics. I feel for him.
Tough spot, but gets a little easier to swallow when you're up 2-0. And that's what the Celtics are right now.
That's a very
Thing
fair point. Yeah.
So yeah, that will be watching closely on Wednesday night here in Dallas to see how Porzingis looks in game 3. Make sure you check out all our coverage over at masslive.com for myself and Souichi Terada. Matt Fortor as well will be joining us in Dallas. It should be a real fun week down here as the Celtics go for their
Yeah.
first title in 16 years and are just 2 wins away. So stay tuned for Mass Live for more coverage on that, and we'll be checking in with you guys later this week.